So we're going to talk about failure, right? I'm Bridget. I run a nonprofit organization that focuses on ending childhood hunger. So why would somebody that needs to raise money for a living get up and talk about failure? It's crazy. But I had breakfast with a dear friend a couple months ago, and he helped me realize that this is a story that needs to be shared. That this is a story that resonates deeply with me and may resonate deeply with many of you too. In 2008, I got a voicemail, and it was so powerful, I had to listen to it 167 days in a row. And it went just like this. Hi, Bridget. My name is Sarah. I'm a second grade teacher at Kelloggsville Elementary School. I think we might have talked before, not sure. I think we're on like your waiting list or something. Anyway, I am calling because we really, really need your services. I have kids in my classroom and they are so hungry. They are dealing with such poverty. I don't know if you know this, but the GM plant is around the corner and that's just closed, and we have so many families who've lost their jobs. And Bridget, I can't teach and my kids can't learn because they're hungry. And I heard you guys are providing this service where meals come every day. End of day meals, they come every day. We really, really need this. Is there anything that you can do for us? Poverty in my classroom, it's rampant. I can't do my job. My second graders can't learn. But today, Bridget, today was the icing on the cake. I was in the cafeteria line with my little second graders. And there was a little girl in my class, and her name is Katie. She's so sweet. And she was in the cafeteria line, and when she got to the end, she started taking handfuls of ketchup and stuffing the ketchup in her pockets. And I walked up to her, and I was like, Katie, what's up with the ketchup? What's going on? And she looked up at me. She had tears in her eyes. She said, I hope it's okay. We have no food at home. When I get enough ketchup, me and my grandma can make tomato soup. Is that okay? Bridget, this is the poverty I'm dealing with in my classroom. There's nobody else that's doing what you do. We really, really need your help. What can you do for us? Please, call me back. She hung up. I listened to that voicemail 167 days in a row. Because I promised myself, if Katie can't eat, I can't breathe. If Katie can't eat, I'm not comfortable. I needed to remember Katie every single day. I needed to think about her every single day, and I needed to work as hard as I possibly could to make sure that she didn't have to suffer from that kind of hunger. 167 days it took. 167 days it took to raise enough money to be able to serve her school. 167 days. Thankfully, we're still serving her school today. When I was Katie's age, I was 8, we moved from Pittsburgh to Detroit. And when we moved to Detroit, one of my most distinct memories, very first distinct memories, is of this line between Grosse Pointe Park and Detroit. And if you've ever been there, you know exactly what I'm about to tell you, right? On one side of a traffic light, the lawns are manicured, the houses are enormous, everybody's happy. And on the other side of this traffic light, this is in the late 80s, buildings are crumbling down, houses are falling apart, houses are burned, people are living on the streets, poverty is clear and present, people are hungry. It was horrible. And I was scared and worried. I was 8. So I asked my parents, what's happening here? And they weren't shy about teaching me about social inequity, about systemic racism, about institutionalized poverty. And that's why there was so much poverty. And I made it my goal. I made it my life's work as an 8-year-old, I decided this is what I would do. I would work for the dignity of every human being. I would work to make sure that no one ever had to suffer that kind of poverty. I wanted to work so hard so no one ever had to be hungry. No one ever had to suffer the effects of hunger. So, I was a senior at Aquinas College, 2002, and had this amazing opportunity to be able to be at the very beginnings of this incredible organization where every single weekday we would deliver healthy, nourishing meals to kids who really needed it right here in our community. When I had that opportunity, it was amazing. It was like a dream come true. This is everything I wanted to do. And so we got started. I was young, I was very naive, and I was very idealistic, which, if you're looking to start something, that's a phenomenal combination. It's true. And so we got started with what at the time I called seed money, which was actually $3,000. Really exciting. And we started off serving kids in 2 different schools, 125 children, each and every weekday. I was the only staff. We had about 5 to 7 volunteers, depending on the day. And we had a big vision. The sky was the limit. We thought we could do anything. So right off the bat, 3 things started happening when we started providing these meals to schools. The first one was this. We got all kinds of amazing feedback, incredible feedback. Teachers and parents and principals, they would call us and say, whoa, 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 this is amazing. Are you guys really going to show up every single day with a sack dinner for all of our kids in the school? Is this really going to happen? Okay, I got 5 more to add, I got 10 more to add, I have 15 more kids to add. Is this really going to happen every day? And they would call, and teachers would tell us how the meals were actually transforming the very fabric of their classroom. Like that actually by having good, healthy, nourishing food, it made it easier for them to teach. Incredible, right? And so we were getting this amazing feedback, and these teachers they were like, okay, no, for real. Is this really coming every day? Because our kids are asking on the daily, are we going to get our suppers today? Are we going to get that brown bag today? Are we going to get that food today? And the teachers were like, we didn't want to tell them yes. We didn't want to commit to it unless you're sure. And I was sure. I was sure. Absolutely, we're going to come every single weekday throughout the school year and the summer, and you can count on us. Second thing that was happening is that teachers and principals talk to other teachers and principals at other schools. So we started getting all of these requests for services, like the voicemail I got from Sarah. My goodness. We got these voicemails and these phone calls, stories of poverty that I can never, ever unhear. Stories of need. Principals and teachers and parents who would call and leave us these voicemails on my cell phone, asking for our services and asking so desperately needed food in their classroom. But wow, what were we going to do, right? We had such a small amount of money. And so I did what you do when you're looking for funds. I went to every philanthropist. I went to every nonprofit foundation. I went to every private foundation, every corporate foundation that I could get a meeting with. And I asked everyone to please fund us and please take a chance on Kids Food Basket because, wow, it's really going to do some amazing work and it's transforming classrooms. And I got the same response over and over and over again, which is, and I get that, I get it. And the response was, come back when you're sustainable. You're a 1-person operation with a $20,000 budget. Come back when you're sustainable. Come back when you have proven impact. Come back when you've proven your model. And that was tough to hear. It was tough to get a lot of doors shut in our faces. But at the same time, I still understand. We hadn't proven our impact. We hadn't proven our model. We had something that was very new. And again, we were very, very idealistic. And so, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? I kept getting these phone calls and requests for services, and I suddenly felt the weight of the world on my shoulders. I felt so alone. I felt like the only thing that stood between children who were hungry, who needed these meals every day, and the food that exists in plenty here in America, the only thing that stood between those two was me. What do you do? I committed to these schools. So I became a warrior. I became a linebacker. I didn't care about anything else the schools that we were serving, the kids that we were serving, and the kids that were on that waiting list, which still haunts me to this day. I didn't care about anything else. I was a warrior. I would work all day, all night, get up in the morning, and I'd slice meat, big tubes of bologna, because that's all we could afford from the food bank, huge tubes of bologna. I'd slice bread. I'd work with our 5 to 7 volunteers, and we'd make up these sack suppers. We'd deliver them to the schools, and then around 3 o'clock every day, I'd head out to the food bank, which is where we could purchase food at 16 cents a pound. That's how we made that $3,000 stretch, right? So I'd go to the food bank, and I'd hang out there, because that's when the trucks came in at 3 o'clock. And I'd make friends with all the employees there, hoping that they'd put some things aside for us. They did. I offered to babysit their children for free so that they would put things aside for us. I even dated the warehouse guy. Because I wanted his damn yogurt, okay? I did. It worked. Anyway. And all this time, we were succeeding in feeding kids, but still, the work was so hard. And I found myself only caring about this one thing, making sure that kids were fed. I certainly didn't care about myself. I certainly didn't care about my health. I spent my days eating energy bars, granola bars, fast food, junk food, gas station food, anything that would keep me from being hungry. Started getting hooked on energy drinks from morning all the way through the evening. And after I would come home from the food bank, I'd go straight to the office, and I'd research, and I'd write grants, and I'd research around grants, and I'd write grants, trying desperately to be able to raise some money. Research and write, and I'd stay up all night long. And I got addicted to these stimulants. I got addicted to these energy drinks and the no-dos and the 5-hour energies, not the illegal kind of stimulants. Although that would make a great part of the story, right? Great part of the story. But I did. I got addicted to staying awake, and I got addicted to the work. I got addicted to the impact. I got addicted to the need. There was nothing that was more important. Certainly not my body. I never worked out, never exercised. I didn't care. I didn't care. I felt like there was a part of me that was just invincible, right? Because the work I was doing was so noble that, like, I was fine. There wasn't anything that was going to hurt me. My health was great. I wasn't going to worry about it. But this whole time, I was neglecting my body. And then, after years of this, I started to not feel quite like myself. There was something off. Something was wrong. But I ignored it. I ignored it because we had so much work to do. We had schools on our waiting list, and we had these phone calls that kept coming in, and my gosh, I didn't have time for that. So then, 2012, I had a baby. And if you've ever had a baby, you know that issues that you push under the rug come to the surface. Oftentimes, they don't just come to the surface, they explode. And that's what happened. And I got very sick. And I was diagnosed at that point with 2 autoimmune diseases. 2 autoimmune diseases that probably had come on my own. But you know what? I ignored it. I didn't have time for that. Who has time for that, right? We have over 20 schools on our waiting list for services. We're at the end of the recession. You know, we've got a Muskegon program that we're starting, and Muskegon Heights has the highest dropout rate in the entire state of Michigan. Those kids need our services, and they need them now. Holland, we had a Holland program that we wanted to start in scores of schools and thousands of kids that needed our services. Nobody's got time for an autoimmune disease, much less 2. So I ignored it. The one thing that I did do 2012 was I finally realized that we needed more leadership. We needed more people who were making this organization great every day, and I made one of the best decisions of my career by bringing on a brilliant leadership team and a brilliant associate director. And that has made all the difference. Because in 2015, I had another baby. And at the same time, my husband was sent to India on a very long project. In fact, he was sent to India 11 times in 14 months. So here I was with a newborn, with a toddler, running a $5 million organization. I was alone, very alone, and I got very sick. When you have autoimmune diseases, your body gets very inflamed. It affects your brain. It affects all of your organs. Things get inflamed. Your body attacks itself. I got very, very sick. There was one point I had trouble writing my name. There was a time that I had trouble reading. There was times that my brain just felt like an empty shell. My head felt like an empty shell on top of my body. Like nothing in there was working. And I made the decision that this wasn't working. And I finally saw a doctor. And after a variety of tests, this doctor sat me down and he said, Bridget, we gotta talk about this. Let's talk about your inflammation markers. When you're at 60, you're sick. When you're between 200 and 400, you're really sick and you need medical intervention. You're at 1,200. And if you don't do something now, you're going to die. I saw another doctor. Right? Wouldn't you? I was like, whatever. But I was pretty sick. Got the same results. Saw another doctor. But this doctor did an ultrasound and told me that 90% of one of my vital organs had been destroyed. And that I needed to be dependent on medication for the rest of my life, just to live. Scary. I asked her why. What in the world could have caused this? And she told me years of stress on the body, years of neglecting my body, years of eating really crappy food and not paying attention to my health, years of neglecting autoimmune diseases. And in that moment, I had the greatest realization of my life, that I had been performing the greatest of ironies over the past 13 years. While I worked day in and day out to prevent the irreparable effects of undernourishment on children, while I worked to prevent the irreparable effects of childhood hunger, I was causing irreparable damage to my own body. Greatest of ironies. And I realized that I had failed myself. I had failed my body. I failed my husband, who has to pick up all the slack, and who truly has lived out the vow in sickness and in health. I failed my children, who had to deal with a sick mother. Sometimes I failed my teammates. But after all of that, I am so proud of where we've come as an organization. I'm so proud of the work that we do. I'm so proud of the fact that each and every weekday we serve 7,500 children at 42 schools in 3 different counties each and every weekday, and I'm so incredibly proud of that. But at what cost? To myself. What I've learned through this work is that when you're in the nonprofit sector, when you're in human services, when you serve our world's most vulnerable, the work is never done. The work is never done. Every single day, I say to myself at night, did I do enough? Did I get enough done? Should I have done more? I think about those thousands of kids, the thousands of kids that are on our wait list for services. I think about them every single day, and that is my burden. That is what I work for. But you know, people always say to us, don't you want to work yourself out of a job? Don't you want to work yourself out of a job? Yeah, absolutely. But what I've learned is not in this lifetime. It's not going to happen in this lifetime because our work is never done. Ever since the beginning of time, ever since the beginning of mankind and womankind, There have been people who have more resources and people who have less resources. And when you work in this industry, your job is to connect the two, and that work is never done. But the work is good, and the work is noble, and the work is pure, and the work is righteous. But you guys, sometimes the work is killing us. Sometimes our work is killing us. It's killing me. So we have to ask ourselves this question. In order to truly change the world, in order to truly be the change we wish to see in the world, must we work ourselves to death? Thank you.